Have you ever made a decision and, like, a second later, you're just kicking yourself? Or maybe you've wondered why you fell for a super simple trick? Well, today, we're cracking open Daniel Kahneman's incredible book, Thinking, Fast and Slow, to explore the two hidden minds inside your head that are secretly running the show.
So let's just jump right in with the big question, right? Why do smart people, people like you and me, sometimes make decisions that, looking back, seem totally foolish? Why do we stick with a bad investment or make a snap judgment we regret? Well, it turns out the answer is this amazing tug-of-war happening inside our own brains.
And the guy who figured this all out is Daniel Kahneman. And get this is what's so wild. Kahneman is a psychologist, but he won the Nobel Prize in economics. I mean, that's how mind-blowing his work was. It literally turned our entire understanding of how we make decisions on its head, even in places like Wall Street.
At the very heart of his work is this one single idea. Our brain doesn't just have one way of thinking. Nope, it's actually running two totally different systems. You can almost think of them as two characters inside your mind, and they're both constantly grabbing for the controls.
So, let's meet our two characters, System 1 and System 2. System 1, we're going to call the hero. It's fast, it's automatic, it's your gut feeling. It works on intuition and emotion, and it takes zero effort. Then you've got System 2, the detective. This one is slow, deliberate, logical, and it takes work. This is the part of your brain you have to fire up to solve a tricky puzzle or a math problem.
So, you might be wondering, how can System 1 be so incredibly fast? Well, its secret weapon is something called heuristics. Now, don't let that fancy word scare you. Heuristics are just mental shortcuts. They're the rules of thumb that let us make split-second judgments without having to stop and analyze every little thing. Now, it's really tempting to look at this and think, okay, System 2, the logical detective, is the good guy, and System 1 is the one that gets us into trouble. But that's not it at all. We absolutely need our fast-thinking hero. I mean, can you imagine having to logically work through how to drive your car or tie your shoes every single day? So the real goal here isn't to pick a winner. The skill is learning which system to trust in any given situation.
And that brings us to the really fun part, the common thinking traps that our brain falls into. Let's look at a few of these cognitive biases. These are the moments when System 1's shortcuts don't just help us, they actually lead us completely astray.
All right, let's try a quick experiment. I have a question for you. Did Nelson Mandela spend more or less than 30 years in prison? Okay, just think about that. Make a guess in your head. Got it? Hold on to that number.
So, what just happened there? That was the anchoring effect in action. That number I gave you, 30, became an anchor in your mind. I'm willing to bet your final guess was somewhere pretty close to it. This is a super powerful bias, where the very first piece of information you get unconsciously tethers all your later thoughts on the topic.
And this isn't just a fun brain teaser. This has serious real-world costs. I mean, take the story of this guy, Steve, in a pawn shop. The shopkeeper was clever. He asked, "Do you think this is worth more than $25 or less?" By dropping that low anchor of $25, he tricked Steve into selling an item worth $200 for only $30. That one little question cost him a ton of money.
Okay, let's look at another one. Imagine you're at the doctor and you're told you need a procedure. You've got two surgeons. One tells you this procedure has a 90% survival rate. The other says this procedure has a 10% chance of death. Which one do you go with? Almost everyone feels better about option A, right? Even though they are exactly the same.
This is the framing effect. The core facts don't change one bit, but the way those facts are packaged, the frame they're put in, completely changes how you feel about them. Now let me tell you, advertisers, politicians, the media, they are absolute masters of framing. They don't have to change the facts. They just have to package them in a way that guides your emotions.
Oh, this next one is a trap so many of us fall into. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. You know that feeling when you're watching a terrible movie, but you think, well, I've already watched an hour, I have to finish it. That's it. It's this deep need to keep pouring time, money, or effort into something that's failing just because you've already invested so much. Our emotions just can't stand the idea of admitting we made a mistake and cutting our losses.
And if you want a huge real-world example, look no further than the Concorde supersonic jet. Pretty early on, it was clear this plane was never going to make a profit. It was just too expensive to build and fly. But the British and French governments had already sunk billions into it. Admitting failure felt impossible, so they just kept throwing good money after bad. Okay, next up, a shortcut called the availability heuristic.
This one's pretty simple. If you can think of an example of something easily, your brain assumes it must be really important, or that it happens all the time. Your brain makes a crucial mistake. It confuses easy to remember with statistically likely.
This is exactly why so many people are more afraid of flying than they are of driving. We see dramatic, fiery plane crashes on the news. That image is vivid, it's scary, and it's really available in our minds. But statistically, the risk of a car accident, which we see so often it barely registers, is vastly higher. Our entire sense of risk gets warped by whatever story is easiest for our brain to recall.
So, now that we've seen all these ways our brain can trick us, you're probably thinking, great, so what do we do about it? How do we actually fight back against our own minds to make smarter choices? And here is the most important takeaway from this whole thing. The goal is not to shut down your fast-thinking System 1. We would be completely lost without it. The real solution is just awareness. It's about learning to recognize those key moments where your gut might be wrong and knowing when to say, whoa, hold on, and bring in the slow-thinking detective.
And you can actually put this into practice with 3 really simple steps. First, when you face a big decision, just pause. Give your brain a second. Second, always question the frame. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this information? And third, actively play devil's advocate. Force yourself to consider the opposite of what your gut is telling you.
In the end, it all comes back to this amazing idea from Kahneman himself. Our brains are these incredible machines, but they come with built-in biases. We can't just wish them away. But the real power comes from knowing they're there and using that awareness to make better, more deliberate choices. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Your fast-thinking hero, your System 1, is always on. It's the default setting. The real question is, now that you know about the slow-thinking detective you have on call, when are you going to choose to slow down and bring him in on the case?